Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Medicus Global Products and Labs Information training that we have. We're going to be going over some more information following the first side of our training we did this past Monday. And we do plan on, over the next few weeks, to keep the trainings going on Mondays and Thursdays. I do want to start this call out a little bit different this time, and because we are going to run a poll with everyone that's on the call today. And we will continue this poll throughout the next few live events. But on your side, if you do see the poll, and it's basically just asking, do you prefer live events at which time that works best for you? I know right now is 3 p.m., 5 p.m., and 8 p.m. We're going to be running different times and seeing what is the best for everyone. So if you can make a vote on that poll, that would be fantastic. We're going to be running several of these over the next live events. That way we can just hear from the field and hear from people on the calls on what is the best time for them to attend our live events. So with that being said, just if you can make that vote on the polls on your screen, and that will be great. So I do appreciate everyone taking the time to come here. I see Jack is here on the call. Welcome, Jack. It's good to see you. And again, welcome everyone to the part 2 side of this. Razi, welcome. I know somebody who's been, Razi's very involved in the products and things, and this is hopefully have some great information for you today. Alan, welcome. So I do have Robert Anderson, our vice president, on the line with us, and he's very, very knowledgeable in the product side of this. And throughout this call, if he may jump in sometimes if he has anything to add with this, but I'm going to kind of just add a little bit of information. I want to do a recap of what we went over last Monday, and then get into some of the different labs that we are looking at on the information. So this is a process here, and I want to make it very, very clear to everyone that this is a development side of Medicus Global. This is not a finished, fine-tuned process that we have in place yet. However, there are people already having success with the product side and with not yet the labs, because we haven't officially launched the lab side, because there is a bit more training with this, and this is why it's important for these calls and why it's important for us to do this. And the other reason on why we went ahead and went with the products, because it is a little bit easier to get that across. Now, some of the stuff I do want to talk about on the product side, and let me go ahead and jump to this first screen real quick, and then it'll take me straight to talking a little bit more about products, and I'll elaborate a little bit more. But first on your screen, we'll go ahead and just go through this page real quick. Welcome to our special event today. Today's event is to discuss our new labs and products. Okay, labs we have as a part of this product offering, and these are just examples, like FDA-approved DNA-based cancer screens, cholesterol scans, pregnancy tests. On the product side, you're looking at pain management options. You're looking at folic acid, vitamin D options, as well as scar creams, migraine creams, etc. All promoting wellness, all topical, and all an alternative to the ever-growing, life-taking narcotics that are available on the market. And one of the interesting things, we will talk a little bit of statistics here today, but on the next training call, we're going to talk a lot about what's going on in the U.S. But once again, I looked at the the graphs and the charts and everything that's available out there on products. And one of the things that is a bit alarming when you're looking in the United States side of it alone, they talk about somewhere in the ballpark of between 36 to 40,000 lives per year are taken to some sort of overdose. Okay, over half of that is taken from prescription drugs, and the majority. In prescription drugs, you have more overdoses on prescription drugs than you do on any illegal drug on the market combined. So with that being said, it really shows a problem, and it's, ladies and gentlemen, it's out of control, okay? And that's why there is, you will see such a need with this on the product side, because it promotes wellness and it gives the alternatives. Now, not everyone will want to take it, because if you are addicted to narcotics, then taking a topical cream doesn't fix that problem, okay? However, it is a solution for it, and you'll find a lot of people are interested in trying new things and trying things with that, because, ladies and gentlemen, in the United States, it is a very, very sad time. I was looking in 2001. In 2001, over 10,000 deaths happened from overdoses on prescription drugs. In 2014, over 25,000 lives were taken by prescription drugs as well. The majority of that being pain medications. So you can see over the last 13 years, that has been an ever increasing, it's almost tripled in size on the amount of lives that are being taken. So the issue is getting worse. There has to be solutions and there has to be things, and that's one of the things we're working on here with introducing this. So it gives a lot of information for you and a lot of marketing stuff that we are putting together on it. But with that being said, I'm going to try to keep this call down again to about 30 minutes, which 35 minutes maybe, which kind of keeps us on the, keeping everybody's attention and learning just a little bit more at a time. There is another call tonight if you are interested in the business-to-business side. That is at 8 p.m. Eastern. Those registration links did go out to your email, and I do believe are possibly available in the back office. If not, they will be available there shortly. Robert, do you know if those are there yet?
Yes, they are there.
Okay, perfect. So they are available in your back office, ladies and gentlemen, so you can register for that event tonight as well if you would like to learn about the business-to-business side, and that will be presented by Jennifer Chamberlain, our Vice President of B2B, as well as Morgan Sharp, Calvin Jones, and Ricardo Garcia, which Ricardo is our VP of Latin Corporate Development. So hopefully you can join that as well. Looking at your screen, so the documentation, forms, and descriptions. Okay, we have there's new information arriving daily. This is something we said last Monday. We're going to recap on just a few things from Monday and kind of breeze through it. As new material is added, it will be in your back office as we are getting things developed. The outline for today is the product recap, form for product recap, commission recap, and we're going to jump into a little bit of the lab training. Just talk specifically about some of the labs to give you kind of an idea of what they are and how they actually work. How does the test work? And what are we testing for? Okay, so there's a lot of interesting stuff there. With that being said, I do want to recap a little bit on this form here because we want to make sure we're always staying in compliant. And that is the only thing ever filled out by a patient, which we recommend doing that in the presence of their physician. But if for some reason something is filled out, the only thing that can be is in this square. The patient name, date of birth, social security number, address, city, state, zip, phone, and allergies. That is the only side that is. Everything else on this form as we go through this has to be filled out by the physician. You'll see all the different types of products in here, all the different types of application size, and eventually it's signed by the prescriber and dated by the prescriber, which will be the physician who is consulting with that patient. In the box on the bottom right-hand corner, as we discussed last Monday, we are working to have this automatically populated. It's not ready yet. As soon as it is, we'll let everyone know. But you can handwrite, or if you have a PDF modifier, the only thing that is allowed to be modified on this particular form would be what's inside this box, and that is just for the putting your affiliate ID number in there, and that is it. Everything else is all compliant. So that, for a little bit of recap on that, I want to talk about the commissions too, just to understand a little bit more on the labs and commission strategy. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you weren't here on the last call, it's basically a 40% for your first level, and there are some examples of some different levels of cost, some possible amounts that come in, and what the commission is to you based on those amounts, as well as your first level. They would get 15% on what those same amounts are and what those dollars are that will actually be commissions paid out, which are very attractive numbers for this. And then it looks like I don't see level 2 here, but level 2 is 5%, and the 5% side is just shortly a little bit less than this. So pretty self-explanatory. So basically a 40%, 15%, and 5% side of that. Okay. So with that being said, I just wanted to recap through that relatively quick. There is another recording that goes more in depth on that is available to you from last Monday's call. And what we will be doing is putting a recording together too. That'll be less than 30 minutes that just specifically hits all the points of the products, and as we get the labs and everything on board and moving forward, we will have one recording available that will be used for each and every one of you to share with whoever in your organizations or whoever might be looking at becoming a part of the business specifically for the products. And as we mentioned last night on the live event that we had for our updates, that we will be coming up with new videos for the opportunities that will have everything from the telemedicine, all the bonus structures, all the way through the products and labs, as well as the business-to-business, all in one recording. So with that being said, it's going to help a lot with sharing the information that we need to put out. So let's see here. And just a reminder, if while you are waiting and chatting, if you are just tuning into the call, we do have a poll going right now on what time that you do prefer the live events at, whether it be 3 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Eastern, or 8 p.m. Eastern. We will be taking all data from all the calls we have over the next week on this poll just to see what is the best time for, the average people that are coming to the calls. We want to make sure that we're trying to do things at the right times that best fits your schedules. So, with that being said, that's about all I'm going to talk about the product side today, because I want to get into the labs a little bit more in depth. So with that being said, I want to jump into some of the things we are looking at on the product side. And the title of this is Lab Training. We do not have the forms ready to go as of today for you to start sharing with potential people who might get these labs. One of the reasons for that is two things. One, it is a part that we have to have everything in for the training side of it, even if it's in writing, that we can put in the back office so that people know what to do with that. It's slightly different than the product side. The other reason is just getting everything in place as far as agreements and the commission side and percentages and everything locked in place in the formula side, so that once we start this process, it is all ready to go. Okay. So what I'm looking at first is the molecular side of labs. First one I'm looking at, the carrier screen. This is one of the labs that would be available, and who to test. Okay, women and men of reproductive age to start or expand their families. Okay, so people are looking specifically into that category, and why would you want this test? Testing for hereditary recessive diseases has reduced the occurrence of disease in some populations by as much as 90%, and there's a reference there for the source. A carrier screening for some diseases is recommended by the American College of OBGYN. This is just some information that we have in the American College of Medical Genetics for all patients of reproductive age. So this is a very, a very serious test that is available through what we have to offer. Okay, how to do these tests? There are two ways, as you can see on the GeneAware. Is the collection methods would be a blood draw. So people do have the options to go that route, which we don't do, obviously, at a home or in a simple location. But the other one you can see is the saliva, which is a mouth swab type test. And if people are specifically looking for a screen like this, there is a simple process for it. And a lot of things on here might be the Spanish Inquisition to some of you. And when you look at lavender top and purple top, those are just compliant things on what the blood work would be. And those are more for the side that what we're doing if there was a blood draw that was done on it. So the key benefits is there's 4 panels offered. Female screen for the X-linked, as well as the muscular dystrophies and different types of syndromes, etc. I'm kind of putting this information in front of it, but one of the cool things about this is that it tests 158 diseases and 880 mutations, all in one test. Okay, and that's all from a saliva test. All right, the insurance coverage is covered by most commercial and Medicaid insurance plans in network with most carriers. So there are some things to learn when it comes to the insurance side, that it's not for any of us to teach this to someone who's there, but it's good information to know. Because some of the information that has came to us from different associates who are already, let's just say, in the product side, have made comments about, insurance companies won't cover this. Well, saying that insurance companies won't cover this is an incorrect statement. There are some plans that do not cover certain products and labs. It all depends on the insurance plan. That is completely out of our control. That is completely out of our reach of anything. That is just part of how it works. Not everyone will get approved on that. When we're talking about two different things, when we're talking about FDA-approved products versus compounds, insurance companies are less and less paying out on compounds, but on the FDA-approved products, it's a much higher percentage. So I wanted to make sure that was said, because we've had a few emails come in from some key associates inside our Medicus Global family, and I wanted to announce that on the call today between the differences of that. When it's something that is a compound, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's FDA-approved. So when the pharmacist is speaking about that and they say the words compound, sometimes they try to give an alternative if your insurance company doesn't cover it. And those are all things that you can discuss directly with the pharmacy or with your physician. Okay, but on the insurance side, we have zero control of what's approved and what's not approved. As we start going through this process, okay, as we start going through this process, we have we will be putting together which ones are working and which ones are not, so that we just have kind of an idea on what plans do cover certain things, which plans don't. But for the most part, especially on the labs, there's a high percentage of the coverages, where we say most. This paper, or these slides that I'm showing you right now, was not created or typed by Medicus Global. This is information that's provided by the pharmacy themselves. So this is coming straight from the source. So the information here is actual information that has been screenshotted off of the information that we have received. As we continue on the lab training side, I would like to. So the gene ID, known as the newborn gene ID, okay, the collection method is a mouth rinse. Basically, it's scope. You put it into your mouth, you kind of gargle and shift around inside your mouth and put it back into a bottle. From that type of collection method, the key features and benefits of that is non-invasive genetic mutation tests that can identify if you are a carrier for multiple and basically devastating hereditary diseases. So it's something that is massively looked at and is a part of the lab works today, and it's been simply easier now that we're putting this together. It tests 62 diseases, but really 2,500 plus mutations. Okay, so I mean that's a very, very high number. This is a very not proper, but extensive test that's actually very easy for the patient. But on the lab side, there's a lot of work done with this to get the results. Results return within 7 to 9 days on this particular test after the insurance verification that we do via the web portal or HIPAA-compliant fax, which, as you know, any fax numbers that we currently use are all HIPAA-compliant. The insurance covered is covered by most commercial and Medicaid insurance plans. The Medicaid side of this, we are not currently billing at this point until we are fully up and operational on the government side, but it's just showing really the insurance coverage is covered by most plans that are out there. There's not a single product in the United States today, no matter who or what, when, where has it, that we have the ability to say 100% of insurance companies covered. It's just not possible. Every plan is absolutely different and cover different things, as we know for those who are very familiar with the insurance side. On continuing on the other ID side of this, the Previn test is the collection method is again a mouth rinse. Now the key features for these benefits, this is a different gene ID type testing. The test 31 genes focusing on 8 devastating cancers. We talk about the cancer screen with this. Now from a mouth rinse scope, you can look at the different cancers that are there. I mean, all the way from breast, ovarian, pancreatic, stomach, skin, prostate. So there's a lot of things that this particular test will cover, and it's all from a mouth rinse. So with the gene IDs, it is a breakthrough on the lab side and what is available to them. Now the structure and process that we are doing to make this go as simple as possible for everyone on the marketing side, as well as the patient side of getting this from their physicians. What's nice about the labs is, physicians all understand how the labs are and what they are used for. So whatever the patient is wanting to connect with on this, that is 100% up to the patient side on what labs they want to do. Now this is just a few of the labs that we are looking at, but you can look at the insurance coverage as well. The commercial plan genetic testing coverage varies on different insurance plans. Those are specific on the genetic testing coverages, okay? The cancer molecular screen, who to test, patients who are a personal history of certain cancers or have family members with certain cancers are potential candidates for this type of screening. And why you would want to do this particular test, if you can, I know that I'm kind of getting some questions put in here, so Candace, if you can rephrase that just a little bit on what you mean, so the client will need to find that out. If you can reword that so we can reference one part that I was doing with here, that'd be great. Well, I mean, on the cancer screenings, ladies and gentlemen, one of the questions that have come in is, how does the patient find out if they're covered? Well, they can simply contact their insurance company. I mean, everybody has the ability to do it and just ask the question. we all have plan coverages and detailed on what it does. So I mean, it's very, very simple to find that process out. And the other thing is like we do with the products, you talk to your physician, you send off to have this done, and you get a results back on whether the insurance company will cover it. In most cases, it does cover it if the need for the test is there. And why to test this? Okay, and I kind of went a little bit more on why to test this particular on the cancer molecular screens, and that is increased screening, risk-reducing surgery. That's a big part of it. The chemo prevention, preventing to get into the worst-case scenario of the cancer treatments, and that's chemotherapy. Identifying other family members who may be at the increased risk of these particular types of cancers. Patients who test positive for certain mutations have a significantly higher risk of cancer than the general population. So that's really what the test is bringing out, and testing additional actionable genes beyond. And I know this is kind of, and we'll have other trainings on these specifics, but on cancer-causing mutations. And again, this is another saliva test or a blood draw. It really depends. I mean, sometimes if a saliva test, if a patient doesn't want to do that, they have the option to have these type of tests doing their blood work as well, and we don't have any say-so over that. These are opportunities for all of us when it comes to the labs. And again, these are just a few labs that we are looking at, and the ones that I'm showing you now are the ones we are moving forward with, and there are several other labs that are going to come and play with this, such as pregnancy screenings, such as other gene type identification screenings. So what's nice about it is patients can really have an easier process that they don't necessarily have to do the actual going to an actual lab and getting this done. This is all done, basically how you want to receive that. Okay, so and doing just a saliva test is a lot easier than the drawn out lab work of going and having to sit for hours and going through all this process. So it's another way to do it. And this is something that is very, very, very talked about all over the U.S. It's something that's highly, highly popular. It's 100% effective. One of the other things you want to look at is if you're looking at blood draw versus a saliva test. One of the differences between those two, because some of the questions come up to as why would you want to have a saliva test other than a blood test? And one of the reasons is blood actually lasts for about 7 to 10 days on the lab side, where saliva is 365 days. So the difference between those two are substantial. So how long those test opportunities last for the lab is over a year. You're able to sit where blood has to be tested relatively quick. Okay. So let's see. So, and then how to test, again, that's the saliva and the key benefits. And one of the things I'll show you on this cancer molecular screen that we're looking at right now is the comprehensive hereditary test, the number of genes that those cover. And as you go through this list and you see this, just gives a lot of information on that, okay? And what we're looking at for comprehensive hereditary tests, hereditary brain, CNS, PNS cancers, reproductive cancers, all the way down the list to prostate-type cancers, pancreatic, so you can kind of look at the screen and look at all the number of genes that those are covered. And I kind of wanted to make sure that I started to put this type of information in front of everybody, because after you leave this call today, there will be a lot of question on what, but we needed to make sure this information was put in, because the next part of this call or of this training will start getting in depth on these things here and talking specifically about how to market these type of things to the potential patient. So you have a product side that is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to pain management, when it comes to the scar creams or migraines or arthritis, all the different type of pain management, or the folic acid, vitamin D type stuff. Those are all relatively, easy to explain, and what are the benefits of those. So there's a very, very powerful side to that. The opportunity on commissions is, even more so than the product side. It's one of the reasons why we switched the percentages. There's an even higher side of what this has to offer here when it comes to the lab. So there is a little bit more training involved with this. And with that being said, it takes a little bit more time. This is one of the reasons why over the next week as well, on Monday and Thursday, we're going to be going more in depth, where we can talk more about the actual forms and the process as we get that information finalized, and going through how to actually put this inside in front of your physician and start putting these labs out there into patients and getting these successfully done for each and every single person that is interested in this side of it. So where, when we talk about telemedicine, everyone's very, 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 very familiar with that. So, but as you know, when you first started this venture with Medicus Global, for some people, telemedicine was like a third language. It was completely not understood, and we see how much everyone understands that now. That's a lot of training and a lot of work and a lot of discussion, a lot of videos, business opportunities, etc. The same process is happening here with the labs, where you'll have massive amounts of information. We know the importance of labs. Okay, the importance of labs is preventative maintenance. Preventative maintenance is such key to our longevity of living today, knowing what we have, put in front of us, what are the potentials of what we can get based on genetic screening, based on our genes, based on our DNAs. And this is a huge test that has not been around for very long. With these type of screenings, there's so much information you can find, and in return, you can save yourself from ever getting to the point of having to do things like chemotherapy, having to do things, what your family genes have, what you're at risk for. And we're finding a lot on the research side of this, and studies on many universities and many doctors around the U.S. and around the world, for that matter, on the importance of these type of tests. So as we move into this more and more every year, more and more every month, insurance companies more and more are pushing this very, very much, because they want people to get their screenings and testing done. And it's becoming an easier process. So everyone that's involved with this particular side will have a massive opportunity as this evolves as well, because it's only going up. The amazingness is already there for the success side of it, but at the same time, you can look at, just in the little bit of information that I'm covering, is over 100 different diseases, 2,500 different types of testings, and what you're able to screen and do based on just this little bit of information that I'm showing you. Let's see on the question side here. Absolutely, Nigel. We will have all this information. That's part of, one of the questions that Nigel had, ladies and gentlemen, is, will this information be on the front end of the customer website portal, in additional or otherwise in the back offices? And the answer to both of those are yes. This information will be there. Some of the stuff that we are putting together, it does have to go for compliance, and we have to have certain information there that fits the rules and regulations of this particular industry. So there will be information on the labs, will be information on the products, will be information on all this available. But we don't want people to have to stop and wait for that. The opportunity is here. Start familiarizing yourself with things and learning things. The product side has already came so far with what we've done, and it's starting to move into a process that we know and understand what is going to be the fastest way to put this in front of people to help as many people as we can. Okay. So on this lab side, I hope this gives a lot of information to everyone, and it gives you an understanding of the big picture on what we have going on here. With everything that we have here at Medicus Global that we offer to our associates on a marketing side, and the ability to put this in front of customers, but also, what type of business you can generate off of this is mind-blowing. And it's not something that's a long wait, and you're not trying to have to sell things that you hope people will like, or any type of weight loss, or any type of special coffee, or any things that take a lot of work to do. This is something that is very, very simple, and you'll see as you start to learn more about this and understanding what to do with it. So with all these particular types of labs, and I know, again, and I keep reiterating this on this call now, because I understand I've had a lot of conversations with different associates and different people in this. This is a process. The success side of this is something that it takes a little bit of learning. It takes a little bit of educating yourself and having the materials available, and that's one of the reasons why it's so important for us to do these calls more frequently. And another thing I'd like to ask everyone, if just in the chat room, for those of you who can type a chat in, if you think that having 2 calls a week is too much, or if you think 2 calls a week are okay on these trainings, I'd like to get feedback as well. So we're not over pushing everyone's time. If you do like the fact that we are doing 2 calls a week on these trainings to get the information out as fast as possible, please put that in the chat that yes, 2 calls is great. No, we should only be doing 1. Whatever it is, I'd love to get feedback on this, because this is something that we have mixed emotions on, and we want to make sure that we're doing everything possible to get this information to everyone. Yeah, Ron Grab, plus the update calls, ladies and gentlemen. That would be a Wednesday night call plus 2 calls a week that are separate from the updates that would be specifically about products and training on this. Fantastic, fantastic. So, and again, what's great about these two is these calls are recorded. Now, there are times that when we will get into certain particular calls on the training that by law we cannot record them because of the changing of laws all the time in compliance. So there will be calls that we announce where we're talking 2 weeks in advance that we will promote these calls that are a must attend live call, where we're talking very, very in depth on certain things and maybe have guests on the call. And some of the reasons for that, again, is not recording those particular calls. This one today is recorded, but one of the reasons for not recording certain calls is just because the information we go over, laws may change in different states, things may change at certain times that we would always have to be updating that. So all the calls are planned so that we make sure we get as much information out of recordings, but we'll have live events as well, because there are live events that are currently going on for the distribution side that are not recorded. And this is not with Medicus Global, but I'm just looking at how the pharmacy does things, where we might like to include having somebody such as the pharmacy or representatives in the field to do the call with us, and we have professionals on here that are discussing things. But again, they do not record their calls, but they are live and available to everybody. So thanks a lot, everyone, for those comments on that. So, and Robert, I know you're back with us now. Is there anything that we want to add based on any type of emails or information that you have received before we conclude this call today?
No, I think you hit them all, Stephen. I don't have anything to add right now, but I think it's going to be very exciting once we truly launch the lab testing and have everything in place. We're just very excited as all the affiliates are also.
Absolutely. And just when you have your general questions, ladies and gentlemen, always know that there is an email there waiting for you and waiting for you to send questions in and make requests and make recommendations. And whatever you see, there's no wrong question, there's no bad question. Everything is encouraged to send in no matter what. And that is information at mymedicus.com that Robert just put in there in the chat room. And that email is available in your back office as well under the support tab. But we want to make sure that you always know that there's questions that come up, especially after the call, especially when you listen to this recording again, and you listen, more questions come up. Throw those into an email, and get those out, and we'll work on getting that back as soon as possible. I mean, usually everything is answered within 24 hours, and things that are urgent, just mark those urgent so that we make sure we get them to a staff member as fast as possible to get the answers that you are looking for. And Nigel had a question, and I did cover this question at the beginning of this call, but we will reiterate this for anybody who's coming into this call, and that's, will the prescription order forms eventually carry member's ID pre-entered in their back office? That is an absolutely yes, Nigel. We are working on that. There's a little bit more programming than, taking the time to explain it would be a little bit difficult now, but there is a programming issue there. That's a positive issue. It just takes a little bit of time with engineering, but we are getting that so they're automatically populated in the back office so that anybody's forms that they go in and get from their back office will only reference their ID number. Okay, and some other opportunities that we'll discuss next week with this, when it comes to doctors' offices and when it comes to different things, when it comes to the labs, there are even more things than just talking to everyday people to go in and talk to their doctors about this. There are other ways on this to work this particular side of Medicus Global. So thanks a lot for that, Nigel. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I know we're getting past the half of the hour. I wanted to re-hit this information and start introducing the lab side. It is very in-depth. There's probably 3 parts to this on the calls. We'll continue the other one on the product side on Monday of next week at 3 p.m. Eastern as well, and Thursday of next week at 3 p.m. Eastern. Again, those will be the 2 trainings next week for product specifics. I encourage you to make sure you're on those calls, and I encourage you to make sure that anybody interested in your business, if they can make that, those 2 next week will be recorded, and we will probably try to look at the best side of what is the best times to have this call, and at the following week we may restructure that based on the results we get off the polls throughout the next week on what is the best time for everyone on these trainings. And another thing we are planning on doing as well is once we get a product called in depth that kind of covers everything in short version, We might make that recording and set that up in a live pre-recorded conference setting to where people can actually go in and listen to that recording anytime they like. They can go in and sign up, and so we'll have different times available that we will update that, and 10 a.m.s, 2 p.m.s, 8 p.m.s, whatever it may be, and there'll be several different times that you'll be able to attend those particular events. So, because once all this is put together and moving forward, we will constantly have products training every single week. It doesn't mean everyone has to go to those calls, but for new people coming into the business, they always know, hey, you can go check this out, you can go listen to this recording and start the training process with it, because this will be a never-ending, evolving side of Medicus. There will always be additions to this. There will always be more products. There will always be more labs. There will always be new processes and things changing on this. But for the most part, the success side of it and the ability on your at-home business and what you're able to do, that part will never change. I mean, what the opportunity is here for you is absolutely very, very large. And you'll see when we talk more about the numbers side of this, you'll understand completely why we switch to the percentage side rather than flat rates, because there's even more opportunities when it comes to the labs. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I do thank you for the time. We are pushing around 3:40 Eastern Standard. This call has been recorded, and we will continue the process of trainings and getting information out to everyone and getting things in your back office. And as soon as the information is available to start the promotion of the labs, that will come in your back office. Doing a call will not restrict from that being in there. So we will send out an update that these are available, and you can start promoting this. But we encourage you to continue going through the trainings on this and understanding all the different labs and what they do and what they have to offer. Okay. So with that being said, I hope everyone enjoys the rest of your day. I hope everybody enjoys the rest of whatever you have going on, wherever you're at. And I thank you very much for joining us today. Everyone enjoy the rest of your day and take care. Bye-bye.